Benjamin Franklin said, "Don't put off until tomorrow for what you can do today." And so many times that's how we live our lives. We put off things because we get so busy doing other things, and especially nowadays with our jobs. Years ago, most jobs were 8-hour shifts, 5 days a week, and there was time to do things at home. There was time on the weekends to sit down and relax with family, enjoy family and friends, and have visits, and Sundays to go to church and then have family gatherings, have dinner together every Sunday afternoon. I remember that as a child. We went to my grandparents after church every Sunday and had dinner with them. We just kind of relaxed for that day. And so we thought we had plenty of time. When you're young, you think you have plenty of time. We say, well, I'll wait till I get old and get older, to try to live a godly life or follow God. I want to have my fun now while I'm young. I want to just be able to do what I want, when I want, to be able to party and have a good time. But we don't realize how fast time goes by. That there will come a time we'll be like, what happened? How did I grow up so quick? What happened to time? Because time is actually short. This time on earth really isn't very long. Eternity is after we leave this time on earth. We have so many more conveniences these days than what they had years ago. So much to make life easier for us. But it don't seem like it's helped us with time at all. With all the modern conveniences, we have less time now than years ago when we didn't have so many modern conveniences. But we worked together as family, doing laundry together in the old washing machines and hanging clothes out on the line. It was a family time to do those things, be able to cook and make homemade breads and pies. The time that it took, homemade noodles. I remember watching my grandma make homemade noodles. Things like that took a long time, but it was a family time where families got together and did these things together. Now it's like we got sports, we got jobs. Some people have 2 or 3 jobs because it's so hard now with the prices of everything that one income just doesn't handle it. And then we're so caught up in entertainment that they didn't have so much, we didn't have all these video games and this video stuff and these electronic things that kids just went outside and just played in the dirt, and played jump rope, played tag, climbed trees, spent time together, not far apart with your nose stuck in a video game or on TV. There was more time for friendships and relationships, but the modern conveniences that was supposed to help us and to save time and help us have more time to relax hasn't helped at all. We've just done more and more, pushed more and more. Well, I have time now to work another job or to play some more video games or get involved in more sports. Sports are good, but sometimes it takes away time from things that's important, time away from God, time away from church, time away from quality time with family, just to sit down and talk and maybe read the Bible together. So time is sometimes it's on our side and sometimes time isn't, because time never ends. It never stops. But we're here on the earth at a specific time for a specific purpose, and it's for us to find out, why am I set here, God, during this time? What is the specific purpose you have for me during this time? Ecclesiastes 1:4 says, one generation passes and another generation comes, but the earth is forever. The earth is here forever. So the earth isn't passing away, but we are. We pass away and then another generation comes up behind us. So what do we do with our time? Our time should be preparing the generation behind us to be able to lead and guide and to teach that generation, to help them to grow up to become leaders in the next generation. Who are going to be the leaders in this next generation? How much time have we put in to build up the young generation, to teach them, to guide them, to give them wisdom and direction, to be able to teach and train them just regular things in life? We know just in our generation, we've lost a lot of gifts and talents that the older generation have, because we have the modern conveniences, because we don't take the time to learn how to do anything. Everything's convenient. It's quick and fast and easy. Go to McDonald's, go to Burger King. Everything's right there and done for you. So when hard times come, we don't know how to take care of ourselves. Our job and duty is to take time to raise up a generation that can follow us, that has some wisdom and knowledge, because each generation passes away and the new generation's coming up. But what kind of generation are we going to have under us if we don't take the time to work with them, to give them that example and teaching and training that they need? James 4:13 through 15 says, "Come now, you who say, 'Today or tomorrow we will go to such and such a city, spend a year there, buy and sell and make a profit,' whereas you do not know what will happen tomorrow. For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appears for a little time and vanishes away. Instead, you ought to say, 'If the Lord wills, we shall do this or that.'" So we're busy planning our lives. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, without seeking God's will, not knowing that sometimes what we plan isn't the plans of God that He has for us. But we never know when our time is going to end. I know we all want to live to be elderly. We want to live to be 80, 90, 100. But we don't know when our time is actually going to end. We make plans as if we think we're going to live forever. Nothing's wrong with making plans, for your life. I'm not saying anything's wrong with that, but we have to realize our time on this earth is short. The earth abides forever, but we're not going to abide forever. So what are we going to do with our time? How to make our time worth it, to make it accomplish something, to make a purpose out of it, so that when we do leave this earth, we will know that we spent our time well. God has His plans. We can plan however we want, but most of the time our plans don't come to pass. God might have something else for us. We plan one way, and in the end, it can be the complete opposite. So we say, if the Lord wills, we can make our plans. If the Lord wills, I'm going to do this or that. I'm going to go here or there. But we can't say for sure what our lives is going to be. We have to make our time so that it pleases God, to know that whatever we do in life, our time is going to be worth it in the end. We do not want to waste the short time that we have here on earth. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verses 1 through 11 says, "To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to gain and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to fear, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace." So God has set us up under times and seasons. And we know that in our specific lives, we have times and seasons. We know there's times of joy in our lives, like when we birth newborn babies. There's joy there. There's joy as young children when we do fun things with family. There's times of joy, but we know there's some times of sorrow. There's times when we lose loved ones, times that we may lose a friend and we have sorrow in our lives. There's always a different time that we go through in our lives. Like you said, the seasons. We know that when we plant gardens, it has to be when the weather's getting warm. We don't plant a garden in the middle of winter. We can't produce any crops or harvest any crops, at least in Indiana, in the middle of winter. It's according where you live. In our nation, in the world, when it's time to plant, we have the wisdom to know the seasons that God has for us, the time to produce a harvest and a time that we can't, time to reap and a time to sow, to time to pour in to people, and a time that God will let us sow back what we've reaped, the good that we've sowed into people and into the lives of others, that we can reap good things eventually from that. But we go through good times, we go through hard times, happy times, sad times, times of love where you fall in love and you love your family, you love your children. It says a time to hate wickedness. When we see how wicked the world is today, we hate how wicked it's become. We hate the evil that's taken over the world. We see so much now that the time is coming where we'll see so much more evil, and there's wars and rumors of wars. We hate those times. We want to have times of joy, times of peace. There's been times of peace on earth where we don't see a lot of wars and famines and things going on, but there's always coming a time when we see wars and we see evil. But there's times of good times too that we have together with people we love, friendships and family, and times of joy when we have celebrations, birthdays, anniversaries, marriages, holidays. Those are good times. But then we have sad times in our lives where once it was a happy time, but now something has happened, something destructive, a death, or we lose a job, or things just fall apart. We lose our home, finances are bad, and there's times of sadness. So we go through all these different times in life. We're not going to be able to escape going through good times and bad times. So we have to realize good and bad exist in this world. And in this world, time is what holds us. There is no time with God. He doesn't exist in any time, but He's placed us basically as slaves to time. In a way, we are a slave to time because our time continues. It doesn't stay in one place. We have to go along and move with the times. We can't stay in one place. We can't stay young. We wish we could stay young. When we're young, we can't wait to get old so we can just do what we want. We think we'll have so much fun. We can be our own boss. And then when we get old, we wish we were back young again. But time does not stop for us. We have to go along with the time and realize we're going to get old. We're not going to be able to do the same things we did when we were young. If you're young, just remember you need to enjoy your time as a young person, but you need to take care of yourself and your health because time will wear on your body. If you've not taken care of your body when you're young, as time goes on, it's going to have an effect on you. So we have to be considerate of the times that we're in, the times we're going to go through, and that someday our time will end. It doesn't stand still for us. Our time never stands still, so we're a slave to that time because we are to do the best that we can during the time we have. We don't want to waste time, and we don't want to put off until tomorrow what we know we can do today, because in reality, tomorrow never comes. And a lot of times, we don't even succeed in when we put off those things, we never end up accomplishing a lot of those things because, like I said, tomorrow won't come. We don't want to waste time because our time here is limited and we want to do the best that we can with the time we have. Ecclesiastes 3:17 says, I said in my heart, God shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time and for there every purpose and for every work. So there's going to come a time that we stand before God and He's going to judge our works. He's going to judge the purpose that He's given to us. Did we accomplish that purpose? Did we accomplish the work? What did we do for Him? There is coming a time where God will judge us. And so when that time comes, we don't want to be ashamed or embarrassed, but we want to know Him to know that we did our best. And we know that we make mistakes and we fail all the time, and there's time to repent, that we want to make sure that we take the time to repent and go on and do the best that we can with our lives and follow what God has called us to do. We know it will be worth it in the end. God blesses us in our times. Sometimes when God will give us more time, extra time, to do the things we need to do. In Ephesians 5:15 and 16, it says, See then that you walk circumspectly, means correctly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time because the days are evil. So we lose a lot of time being foolish and doing foolish things. And I know we look back, especially in our youth, how we wasted time, how we done a lot of stupid stuff that we could have been doing so much more and so much better, and time has been wasted. But He tells us to redeem the time. We can redeem the time, which means take that time back. Redo it. Do what we can. We've messed up, but now we're going to work as hard and best as we can to take back and earn back the time that we lost. And God helps us do that. He will help us redeem that time, that we could do more in a smaller amount of time than in a large amount of time, as long as we set our heart on following God and His will for us, that we're going to redeem that time, that we're going to do twice as much now because we have less time. But God will help us to accomplish more when we set our mind to it, when we get forgiveness for wasting so much time and doing things that were evil. But now we've repented, and now God is going to give us time back, redeem time, and give us time now that we can go forth and do the works of Christ, that we can be there for our families when we weren't there before, that we could be a friend maybe that we wasn't a friend before, but now we're going to take the time to do what we need to do the right kind of things. Even take the time for ourselves to sit back and relax. Nothing wrong with relaxing and resting your body and resting in the Lord. That's not wasting time. We see that, I need to be working, I need to be doing this or that, I need to get this housework done and that housework done. But God says if you take time for Him and rest your bodies so that you will feel good and be built up physically, mentally, and spiritually, then you'll have more energy to be able to get things done that you need to get done. The housework, the laundry, taking care of the kids, running them here and there. Sometimes we take too much time and we do too much, more than what God wants us to do or what God's called us to do. Sitting at home and just talking with your children and playing board games with your children can be so much better than running them around in the car here and there and just running them to this thing and that thing and this sport and that sport. Just be able to spend some quiet, peaceful, restful time just to sit down and laugh and talk and enjoy your life with your family and friends. Romans 13:11 says, And do this, knowing the time that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now our salvation is nearer than when we first believed. So it's saying, you need to wake up because its time is getting nearer. It's getting closer. We need to wake up out of our sleep. We may have given our hearts to Christ, but we've kind of just slacked off and laid back and just got a little lazy in our spirituality. But it says you need to wake up out of that spiritual sleep to get up, because time is getting nearer. Our time is getting close to the end. It's time to start getting busy and doing for God. We need to get stirred back up. Time to get yourself stirred back up in the things of the Lord, because it's near things of God that He's going to start doing on this earth, and the judgments and the work of God on this earth is getting nearer than when we first believed. So we need to be getting stronger, spending time with God to get ourselves even stronger, to work even more and harder for Him, because time is coming to an end for all of us, sooner or later. It doesn't matter, young, old, what your age is, we don't know when our time will end. So we have to be careful not to waste time, to serve God and to find out, what does God want you to do. Don't waste your time today, because you may not have tomorrow to do that. If you need to go to somebody and ask for forgiveness, or do you need to forgive somebody, don't put that off. Do it now. Do it today. Make up with that person today. What if something happened and the person passed away and you were never able to go make things right with them, and you love them, and now you feel sorry because you never went to them and made up with them and told them that you loved them and cared about them? Today is the day. It says now you need to do this today. Get your heart right with Him today, because tomorrow may be too late. Time may end for you tomorrow. The earth will still be here from generation to generation, or generations past the earth was here. And to now, to our generation, the earth is still here. When our generation passes, that earth will still be here. But the people, we won't. We go from generation to generation. 2 Corinthians 6:2 says, Behold, now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. Now is the accepted time. Right now is time. There's no reason why you should not be able to serve God now. Don't wait. Now is the accepted time to do what you need to do. Some of you know in your hearts there's some things that God's called you to do, or there's something that's been stirring in you. And it don't have to be preaching the word. It could be a job that you know you're supposed to be doing. It could be maybe teaching a secular school or Sunday school. There might be something in your heart you know you're supposed to be doing. He says now is acceptable time. Now is the time to get busy and do it. Don't put it off. When you put things off, then you get where you get too scared or fearful, or you don't want to do it anymore. You think, well, now it's too late. Now I'm too old to do that. Don't wait. Today is the day of salvation. Don't wait to serve God, to give your life to God. Now is the time, not tomorrow. Now is the time of salvation. There's no reason to put things off until tomorrow, unless you're sick and in a hospital, or you just can't physically possibly do that. But I'm saying, if you're able to, and you just keep putting it off because you're fearful, or you're just lazy, or you don't think you're good enough, if it's in your heart, take the time, step out and do it. You're never going to do it if you keep putting it off. Today is the day. Now is the time, he says. 2 John 2:17 says, The world and its lust is passing away. He who does the will of God abides forever. You know, if we do the will of God, our time on earth ends, but eternity never ends. So our time here ends, but we have eternity waiting for us. So we want to be excited about what we can do now, because we will get rewards in eternity. But we can't come back and redo. We can't go back and redo time. Time doesn't go backwards. You know, we see movies where a person started living their lives backwards instead of forwards, and sometimes we wish we could go back and redo it. But that's why God says, you know, to redeem the time, and he will help us, because we have to go forward. We can't go backwards in time. We can only go forwards in time, and then our time on earth is going to end, and then we'll walk into our eternity where we will abide forever. But we can't go back to the earth and redo our lives over again. So don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. Time can work for us or time can work against us. Take the time that you need to build yourself up in the things of God, to spend time with your family, to spend time with your friends, to spend time with God. He wants to hear from you. He wants to fellowship with you. When you spend that quality time with God, He will help us redeem our time to get time back, that He will make sure we have plenty of time to do the other things that we need to do. But don't waste your time on things that's not going to accomplish anything. And we do that a lot. We waste so much time, and then in the end we regret, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I go to school, take more schooling? Why didn't I spend more time with God and learn His Word? Why didn't I spend more time with my family, my friends? People are dying. Each generation is dying off. And we don't want to just waste our time and not be able to spend quality time with loved ones that are getting elderly and are passing away. And we know our time is short, so we want to be able to put into our younger generations, our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, to teach them, to give them wisdom about life and how life is when you get older, the realities of life, because we will have times of sorrow, we will have times of joy, there will be times of peace, there will be times of war, and they have to understand the good and evil times that we will go through, many different times in our lives. Times of growing and maturing mentally, and physically, and spiritually. We grow, but we have to make sure that we spend time that we need learning and growing and getting wisdom and knowledge, because if we don't, we're going to have a harder time in life if we don't have any wisdom or knowledge. And so we want to be able to give that to the younger generation. But, is time on our side? That's a good question. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. It's according how you want to spend your time and what you want to do with your time. And like I said, we can redeem the time that we've lost. God can help us redeem it and get back time where we can do double than what we would have been able to do before, because we've set our hearts to redeem the time and to serve Jesus and do what we know He's called us to do. Be strong in the Lord and in the power of His might, because He loves you. Don't waste any more time, because time will pass you by, and you don't want that to happen. So I pray God bless you and have a good, blessed day. Amen.